Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up the USA view. Zohran Mamdani's primary win sparks Islamophobic attacks from anti-LGBTQ far-right. New York City may be on the cusp of electing its first Muslim, Asian, and African-born mayor, and the far-right is fuming. State Assembly member Zohran Mamdani, a self-described Democratic Socialist, appears to have won the city's Democratic mayoral primary, but as celebrations erupted among progressives, anti-LGBTQ MAGA voices responded with a wave of Islamophobic hate. Right-wing conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer, a close ally of Donald Trump, wrote on Twitter that Zohran Mamdani hasn't even been a U.S. citizen for 10 years. He is literally supported by terrorists, and New York City is about to see 9/11 2.0, end quote. In another post, she wrote in all caps, quote, "Why do we not have laws that say foreigners cannot hold office in the U.S.? What the hell?" End quote. Shaya Rajak, the anti-LGBTQ founder of the notorious Libs of TikTok, shared a video of Mamdani's victory and simply wrote, "Rest in peace, New York City." Charlie Kirk, who runs the anti-LGBTQ youth group Turning Point USA, linked Mamdani to 9/11 in a post, as did Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina. Meanwhile, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a favorite of Queer News Tonight, posted a photoshopped image of the Statue of Liberty wearing a burka with the words, "This hits hard." Despite these attacks, Mamdani's win was powered by support from a broad coalition who backed his bold platform of rent freezes, free busing, affordable housing, and wealth taxes. You know, I actually do have to disclose to viewers in journalistic integrity, I did donate to Zohran Mamdani a few months ago. He is my communist crush, and hashtag Brown Boy Summer. So that's just where I want to begin with all this. He has done an amazing job as a candidate. You know, I actually on this show about a year ago got into a back and forth with the president of the Dolphin Dens, where I was like, you know, candidates have to give people a reason to vote for them. And I was told that that's a purity test. And I was like, no, this is exactly what I'm talking about, of giving them something. He ran on a simple platform that anyone can understand. Free buses, rent freezes, which affects 44% of renters in New York City, and public grocery stores was his other thing. You don't need to fill out a form for any of that to apply to you. It just happens. And everyday people understand that, even if it's not the best idea, that they think it's better than some of the other options. On this Islamophobia, for a second when I was reading the script, I was like, are we talking about Laura Loomer, or are we talking about what Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams and the Democratic establishment have been saying? Because there was a super PAC for Andrew Cuomo, Democratic run. They prepped, and thank God someone stopped it from going to print, an image of him where they lengthened his beard and darkened his skin as part of their Islamophobic attack. The Islamophobia that Zohran has gotten is disgusting. He's been getting death threats. And it's also, to me, it also says he's on to something. You know, I think he's going to go far with this.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I agree. Sorry. I think you're right. He's onto something, and you hear a lot of the retort coming from the Democratic side of the party, being like, "Oh, he really got through to Gen Z using TikTok. It's all that he's really good at social media." And it's the points he came to the table with, the progressive things he campaigned on. He had 50,000 close supporters who were so moved by the things he was speaking on that they went door to door championing what he wanted. And so it's crazy that you're right. It's so funny because the Islamophobia, sometimes the calls coming from inside the House, and the very old centrist Democratic House. And they keep putting up and petitioning these terrible, awful candidates like they did here in Florida for our midterm election with Chris Christie. And it's these old white men, and it's time for something new. It's time for something better. They need to stop saying things like the young people don't want to vote. No, you stopped listening to us, and we don't want to vote for your old, stale, nasty-ass candidate. Like, please, thank you.
Well, and also, I mean, you bring up a good point, you know, who cares how he reaches out to people? I mean, we were talking about people who have campaigned on Grindr. Mm-hmm. I mean, use the technology there to reach the people that you need to reach and the people that you want to reach. And if TikTok and social media is a way to, you know, get out there and campaign, more power to you. And the fact that, you know, she says he hasn't been a U.S. citizen for, you know, more than 10 years. He's a U.S. citizen. Who cares how long he's a U.S. citizen? He's not running for president. So, who cares? Like
Right.
like you're throwing stuff out there that has no merit to the conversation at all. You're literally just throwing stuff out there to stir up somebody, because most people do not read entire comments. They read the highlights. They read whatever's in caps, and they go, oh, Islamic, or oh, not U.S. citizen, and they forget to read the whole book. They skim read the paragraph, and that's the problem with most people. And so, going out on social media platforms does give a shorter time frame, so you get your point across really quick, really precise, instead of what these older, mainstream, Democratic and Republican people are doing, is they remember the days when they had to sit there and pull, full page ads, and they had full commercials, and we don't live in that world anymore.
But the content and the context of what you're talking about in those short forms are just as important.
100%.
Alexander was bringing on something important, because some of the establishment commentators and consultant class have tried to wipe away his victory. It's like, we just need to do better TikTok. And as you're saying, he had 50,000 volunteers. Mm-hmm. DSA, because I used to be a leader of a DSA chapter, I know that New York City alone has 10 to 15,000 dues-paying DSA members. Most of them were definitely involved in Zohran's campaign and were out there knocking on doors and pushing it. Yes, he had great social media. That's how I figured out who he was in Florida. But for his actual moving voters, those in-person things helped. His personality on TikTok was great. Watching him and Hassan Piker to interview each other, like, people talk about, we need a Joe Rogan of the left. I'm like, Zohran and Hassan, I could watch them all day, every day, and so could most of America.
Yeah.
They were fun and engaged, but like the consultant class is just doing it as a way of trying to get around the deeper conversation, which is, they were all claiming it's a messaging problem. And I'm like, you literally had a Bill Clinton endorsed candidate lose, and there was so much other racism. And it was so hollow to see some of this, like, a few other highlights of the problematic New York City race was, I very much enjoyed Al Sharpton attacking Zohran Mamdani and Brad Lander, a Jewish American, for cross-endorsing each other, but not in cross-endorsing Adrienne Adams, a black woman. He said this while he was endorsing old white man Andrew Cuomo. And I'm like, I'm sorry, if you're complaining we're not endorsing Adrienne Adams and pushing a black woman out of the race, why are you endorsing Andrew Cuomo at this event? And I very much enjoyed Andrew Cuomo attacking Brad Landers on Israel, not being pro-Israel enough. And I appreciate Brad Landers for responding back, you don't get to tell me how to be a Jew. So that was what this race was all about. And I'm glad that Zohran won. I'm glad that Brad Landers did so well. And honestly, screw the Democratic establishment. I just love watching them struggle.
Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.